Okay, I think I finally got it. Hey guys, Soy here. It's been a long time since I've done anything Godzilla related, and recently a relative of mine happened to found something that I could actually talk about, and happens to be inside on the production for Godzilla vs. Kong. Originally, I wasn't going to do anything Godzilla vs. Kong related until everything cooled down because everybody's talking about it and going nuts over it. And a bunch of people were making some bold assumptions about how the movie was going to turn out, and a lot of them were wrong, which is okay. But just don't be arrogant about it. Just be like, maybe, because you don't know for sure. A lot of people were like, dude, Kong's gonna win for sure, or saying things like that there were gonna be aliens in it for sure, and then did a whole article on how like this is gonna impact the monsterverse. Like, get out of here. You never go that deep with just trailers. Damn it. You know when you're trying to drain out the last of like a bottle or something and you put it upside down on top of each other? Yeah, I was trying to do that and it keeps failing, so. Anyway, so I will read it out and we'll kind of go over the small details and stuff that I think are kind of important. I am going to warn you ahead of time two things. One, it does talk about the movie briefly. It mentions a few things, a quick overview on it. So it does give away some minor spoilers about the plot and what's going on in the movie. Nothing too vital, but or at least the plot. If you want to click off now to avoid that, go ahead. I'm sure most of you who are already watching this have seen it already. And another thing, try to avoid looking at this whole area. I've been a mess recently, so. Okay, anyway, Godzilla vs. Kong creative team, how they approached those spectacular kaiju fights, and yes, I can verify they were very good fight scenes. So it's well worth the view. I know a lot of other people will complain and say, 2014 barely had anything. It was just a tease, and then 2019 was good, but like could have had more. Anyway, so it's by Tracy Brown, so I don't get sued. So it starts off, Godzilla vs. Kong director Adam Wingard knows that the film's audience is really only interested in one thing: spectacular fights between the two it's Titular. Wow, this is a good start, isn't it? Monsters. Okay, so tactacular monsters, I guess. Spectacular fights between the two tactacular monsters. Close enough. He was happy to deliver. People are coming to see the destruction and the madness and the spectacle, so you're never trying to get away from that. Yeah, I should have warned you ahead of time that I'm not very good at reading. My girlfriend is a speed demon when it comes to reading, though. I should have had her read this. So you're never trying to get away from that, said Wingard during a recent video call. But a monster you care about makes it even more interesting when it's destroying things. Yeah. Only thing I will say is that, spoiler alert, I guess, but most people already know this from the trailers. Godzilla seemed really out of character, like, caused intentional damage to cities and such, and buildings, which he usually doesn't really do intentionally. He tries to avoid that as much as possible. Still, there's a reason to it. I'm not going to spoil that, though. This isn't a review about that, so I'll save that crap for later. The latest entry in Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures' MonsterVerse franchise, Godzilla vs. Kong, follows the events of 2019's Godzilla King of the Monsters. Yeah, a lot of you actually should have went and saw that. And Skull Island, too, beforehand. King of Monsters is underrated. And a lot of people complain about it. And I'm like, man, you guys just are never happy with anything. And you're a Godzilla fan and you're not happy with King of Monsters. Maybe if you're not a Godzilla fan, I can cut you a little bit of slack. Also, my hair's way in my eye. My hair's always like, hi, how you doing there, eyeball? What if I stab you out? And I'm like, please don't stab my eye. And then my hair's like, Anyway, I'm getting way off track here. If I get off track, you guys already know I get off track. It's part of my ADHD. Sorry about that. events of 2019's Godzilla King of the Monsters and 2017's Kong Skull Island. In the film, out now in theaters and on HBO Max, humans are continuing to research the kaiju, or titans, in the film's parlance. I don't even know if I said that right, but I'm going to say I did, just for now. It's good enough. That inhabit the world. Kong is being held and monitored within a giant dome in order to be kept off of Godzilla's radar. Godzilla, meanwhile, has recently started attacking specific research facilities seemingly unprovoked. And government scientists can't figure out why. I'm just gonna say this. Again, it's a bit of a spoiler. I'm surprised that government scientists can't figure out, and yet 2 kids and 1 conspiracy podcast theorist guy can. I guess the government scientists have to be a bit more hands-on. Oh well. Alright. What the hell was I? Eventually, the humans formulate a plan. Eventually, the humans formulate a plan that involves moving Kong out of his protective bubble to serve as a guide on a trip to the center of the Earth. But Godzilla is a creature of instinct, so he quickly senses Kong and chases after him. Okay, now this is a major spoiler, so go ahead and skip ahead. I know I keep interrupting the reading of this, but he does chase Kong for the one scene out in sea, but then he kind of just stops. The people who've seen this kind of know already that he's not chasing him all throughout the movie. Second, or the big climactic fight near the end, Kong kind of initiated that. He was like, "Hey, you," and then Godzilla was like, "Oh, you again, Harambe? Okay, fine, let's go." He seemed so like tired and annoyed at that part. I don't know if all of you caught on that, but you should have, because it was kind of obvious. Ew, don't I sound egotistical? Okay, where the hell was I? This is really going downhill, isn't it? Despite featuring a cast that Wingard describes as some of the best actors alive, including Rebecca Hall, Alexander Skarsgård, sorry about that, Millie Bobby Brown, okay, I agree with that one, and Brian Tyree Henry. I don't even know if I said that right. At the end of the day, the humans are there to support the monsters. Very true. He points to the Godzilla vs. Kong promotional material as proof of who the real stars are. Very, very true. A lot of Godzilla movies in the past tend to focus on the human parts a little too much. I mean, yeah, you're going to have to focus on some of it, of course. And you want to have some human, interaction. You want to see who the characters are, see them have a love interest and stuff. You don't want to keep spinning that yarn too long, obviously, because you don't want to distract from the monsters. I shouldn't even have to say that. Oh, boy. Don't you just love reading? That's why I have a ton of books over there on my bookshelf that are gathering dust. I don't mind it, but not when I suck at reading. For me, it was always about making you invested in the monster story, said Wingard. His goal was to make sure Godzilla and Kong were treated with respect and presented as fully realized characters with consistent points of view. He also wanted to make sure audiences would empathize with them, particularly Kong. Yeah, he definitely likes to flaunt Kong off a lot. My experience with these monsters growing up was always one where I was really projecting my own ideas on what they were experiencing and thinking, said Wingard, who watched all previous Godzilla and King Kong films chronologically to prepare for this film. Oh, good. Did your homework. I will say this for everyone, by the way. There's no after credits scene. Don't do what I did and just be like, oh yeah, there's definitely going to be an after credits scene, and then the whole theater's empty, and then it's like your whole group's still in there, and then it's like, okay, well, where is it? And you're like, I guess I don't have one, which makes sense because they got to renew the license. A lot of people think it's the last one, but the fact that it's getting so much attention, it ain't the last one. I'm telling you right now. And you know what? If I'm wrong about that, I'll make a short video about, oh, I said that, I was wrong, okay. Now I'm really upset. And, you can see me cry like a little bitch. I wanted to really make sure that the character of Godzilla and the character of King Kong are treated as such, and not just monsters or props that are running amok and blowing things up. Even though that's part of it too, because that's half the fun. Part of delivering on this fun are the two main showdowns involving Godzilla and Kong. The first of these is a battle on the ocean, which was basically Wingard and his team's starting point for the visual effects. We always knew the ocean battle was the safest place to start, because it never changed in any draft of the script, explained Wingard. When you're getting into animation, you're trying to place most of your bets on something you think is going to be the sequence that's actually going to make the final cut of the movie. Almost there. The first battle takes place as Kong is transported on a carrier ship across the ocean, sensing a fellow Alpha Titan. Godzilla catches up to the convoy and initiates the fight. As the first big visual effects heavy sequence the team worked on. Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit and I'll pick up there. I'm going to go back here where it says Godzilla catches up to the convoy and initiates the fight. Godzilla and Kong, their ancestors fought in a war. So Godzilla senses that Kong's coming off his island. He's in the ocean right now. And Godzilla's like, what the hell is this guy doing? Why is this guy here? Get Harambe back to his island. This is not his territory. This is my home turf. I think the humans are at fault for dragging him out of there and taking him all the way over the ocean. Enough of me babbling. We're going to continue this. As the first big visual effects heavy sequence the team worked on. Why does that not sound right to me? The team worked on. Wingard said they went through the whole process the way you're supposed to, meaning using storyboards, animatics, and pre-visualizations to plan out the scene before going into post-visualization and making the shots for real. I think I'm just worn out. I had all these different things to play with, said Wingard. They're on the ocean, so Kong's out of his element. Godzilla's in his element. Kong doesn't want to fall in the water because he can't swim as well. There was just this natural progression of the approach to that fight. Still, visual effects supervisor John Desjardins, Jesus, no wonder they call him DJ, explained that the ocean setting came with its own challenges, such as the open water and the monsters going underwater, all while beating each other up. Yeah. It's like another level of complexity that you don't necessarily get when you're banging through a city, said Desjardins. Then, for the final big battle, Wingard and team stepped away from the traditional workflow. After a trip to the Hollow Earth, a world inside the Earth populated by monsters, Kong intercepts Godzilla as he's wreaking havoc in Hong Kong. I don't know if he was really wreaking havoc, but the only reason he really blew a hole to the center was mainly to be like, hey, I know you guys are messing around with my power source, why don't you knock it off? And then Kong was like, you bastard, you destroyed my temple. And then he climbed up and he wanted to go for another round. He was making his way to something else, let's just say that. While Kong was obviously disadvantaged in their ocean battle, this time he is armed with an axe that appears to have been used by his ancestors to fight Godzilla. One of the most provocative things in the script was the mention that when Kong goes into Hollow Earth, he finds a giant scepter, said Wingard. So I started thinking about that. Even if we're not going to reveal it necessarily in the film, I needed to have my own backstory. Wingard saw it as an opportunity to give Kong a weapon that would allow him a fighting chance against Godzilla. Since objectively, it's hard to believe the two are equally matched. Yeah, no kidding. Not that I don't like Kong or anything, don't get the wrong idea, sorry. I just started thinking about what could this be, and what kind of weapon would actually work against Godzilla, said Wingard. Anything I thought of just didn't make any sense because Godzilla's skin just has this feeling of being totally impenetrable. And it was only when I started realizing, well, I think the only thing that would cut Godzilla would be Godzilla himself, that the light bulb went off. This inspired the creation of Kong's axe, which looks like it was made from a piece of Godzilla's spine or dorsal plate. Its existence is not only useful, but hints at an ancient history between the two monsters. But the new weapon is not the only thing that boosts Kong's chances in the rematch. The setting also helps. When you have King Kong as a character, what's great about him is that he's anthropomorphized. Anthropomorphized, yeah. I'm not pronouncing that right. I highly doubt I am anyway. And he's got opposable thumbs, and he can think more in an intelligent way, and he can kind of problem solve, said Wingard. So when you're approaching a fight scene with him, you're trying to always think about the terrain and how he would utilize it. So to give Kong an additional leg up, Wingard had Hong Kong skyline slightly tweaked. The buildings were made to appear taller than they actually are, even though Kong was at a disadvantage, because he's not one-on-one as powerful as Godzilla. His advantage was being able to utilize his environment, said Wingard. But things get even more complicated when Mechagodzilla joins the fight. He's a jerk, said Desjardins. He fights dirty. There are some moments that Adam had us do with that made us laugh the most because we're just like, yeah, you're really not going to like him very much. Desjardins also explained that while working on the battle, they departed completely from the routine workflow, which allowed Wingard to explore various ideas. Instead of doing this extensive previs post-vis version, we would just go to visual effects companies, Scanline or Weta, or whoever's dealing with that part of the movie, and say, let's pretend this is a real shoot, said Desjardins. We've already got these characters. Let's animate them doing these things that Adam wants to do. Damn. Sounds all like Adam's world. I mean, I guess that's the point of being a director, right? And let's put like 6 or 7 cameras on him that we think might be interesting. Wingard would then take all of the different footage and put together an edit with the film's editor, Josh Schaffer. Enjoy me struggling to read. Every once in a while I gotta be like, oh, that's kind of funny the way I said that. It was a workflow that was only possible because they were later in production with good versions of the monsters and set pieces already built. I feel like we had a really tight feedback loop to craft those sequences and make them as bombastic as they are because of that workflow, said Desjardins. I think that's about it. That was somewhat enjoyable and gave you a decent insight on how the producers of Godzilla vs. Kong went about the movie and the fight scenes and such. You could probably find this in the paper. If anybody reads the paper, you can probably ask a relative to keep an eye out for this article. I'm not sure you're going to be able to hold on to it because this was April 4th. So that's probably going to be a hard one to find. But luckily I do have a relative that reads the paper still. So every once in a while they'll bring me some good clippings. You enjoyed this and it gave you some insight. This wasn't exactly what I planned to do. My reading is terrible, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. It's been a while since I did anything Godzilla related, so it's actually kind of nice. Just to do something small like this, it's actually kind of nice because it's been a long time. But anyway, don't get your hopes up because I will be back probably in another narration volume of stories. Hopefully I don't have as many rendering issues as I did last time. In case you guys noticed, the first story, I do listen to them individually to see where I can improve. And Oh, there's this one part when I'm like, you have to do everything in your power, and then it just cuts off. Oh, that drove me nuts. Anyway, I'm getting distracted, so I'm gonna let you guys go. This is your boy Soy, signing off. Good to be back. I wasn't. And the spectacle. So you're. Bah. God, don't. And chase it. And spit. My experience with these. Godzilla and. I don't know why I put my hand so close. You like my hand? It's hairy and disgusting. This first battle takes place as Kong is transported on a carrier ship across the ocean, sensing a fellow Alpha Titan. Yeah, okay, I already read this part. Godzilla catches up to the convoy. I don't know why I can't speak today. This final battle takes place as Kong is transported on the carrier ship. The first battle, sorry. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me today. Animatics and pre-visualizations to plan out the scene before going into post-visualization. Ugh. Such big words to make my head hurt. Yeah, I don't know why that stopped before. That was weird. It just stopped. What? I have like 4 minutes left. Apparently, you're supposed to have so much space, but whatever. Okay, I sound like a needy. Since objectively. Sorry about that. It's a garage. Hopefully, you can't hear that shit in the background. That boosts Kong chance. Blip. I'm not pronouncing that right. I highly doubt I am anyway. I might be. Is that he's anthropomorphized? We would just go to visual effects companies, Scanline or Weta. Weta? WETA? Okay. This is a real shout. Let's pretend this is a real shoot. Sorry, I was expecting to say shot, so I'm like, shout. Every time I look away from it, it's like my place just disappears. Yeah, that's the fun of reading. I'm not trying to hate on reading, I just suck at it. Oh wow, I can see myself in my reflection.